Hi, you guys. Welcome to a new episode of Too Much with Shey
and Becca. Okay, you got it right this week.
Period. I was very conscientious of that.
Yes.
If you guys are new, thank you so much for choosing us, for pressing our video. We really appreciate it. And we hope you enjoy our video. If you are a reoccurring supporter, thank you. We appreciate you.
Shout outs to you. I hope that your pillow is cold on both sides and your food is always hot. And to the new ones, I wish that for you too.
Period. So if you are new here, we always start off our show with giving just a little minute rundown. It's always more than a minute, but just a rundown of our week. So let's get into that. What's happening? So tell me, Becca, what was happening in your life this week?
Taylor, 2 weeks in a row, Becca. Wow. I don't know.
I'm trying to stay on brand, you know?
My week, honestly, I was still sick, and I don't know if you can tell a little bit. I'm still a little bit congested, but
I can't tell.
You know, you can or you can't.
I can.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is. This don't want to leave me, but it's okay because I'm taking every medicine, every antibiotic, every tea I can drink to get it out my system. Like my shit.
We're sending you healing vibes.
But yes, honestly, not even today, this week has been like semi good. Like yesterday, I would decide to be productive. I've been doing my meal preps because it's annoying sometimes trying to figure out what you're going to eat for work. But it's like, if you already set it up, like, baby, we locked in. I just grab a bowl out the fridge and we good. So I started doing that. I made banana bread for the first time. Now, I'm not saying I'm a baker, but I could put a few bakeries to shame. Like for my first time, I did that. And this is why I can't get good at certain things because you see how gassed I am right now?
Now you're trying to shut bakeries down. Like you could have just gassed yourself up.
Listen, I'm just telling you, I could put a few people to shame. And I also want to mention, I was having this conversation earlier today with my cousins. Like my one cousin, her husband like did this whole like motivational meditation thing. She sent it to me and I was locked in with it, you know? And I was just like, yo, I have not crashed out yet in January. I'm very proud of myself. Usually, you know, I be quick with the little turn up. And, you know, don't get me wrong. People have irritated me and got on my nerves. But I haven't crashed out to my fullest extent, you know?
Period. I'm happy for you for that. So for my minute rundown, it has been Brick City in Jersey. I refuse to go to like bring up my 40 water bottles from from Costco that I buy. And so this was left, and this is ice frozen, and it has been cold, as you can tell that the water bottles froze. Another thing, like Rebecca's kind of like your week, my week was good. I do want to mention that I feel like our field of journalism is slowly but surely dying, at least TV. I don't know if you saw the report about, like, we're not going to talk about it, so this is why I'm bringing it up now, how 100 employees of CNN are going to be laid off. It's scary, and I feel like every week it's a new company that's laying off journalists. And I think, as all the things you guys are going to hear about this week, I feel like at a time where we need journalism the most, it's like, bye. Or I don't know, it's just scary times because, you know, they, especially being a first generation college student, Caribbeans, they always enforce like go with the lucky route. So when you see things like that, I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, dang, should I have stayed in my nursing track? Because the uncertainty is not for me. I know some people love that. Not me.
But the thing is also, it's like, let's say if you did stick with that route, you wouldn't have been happy. So it's like, yes, I get it. Like you mentioned with like Caribbeans, when they say like, you know, always either go for being a lawyer, a doctor, or a nurse, because those are the type of jobs that you rarely see them dying. Like you always need a doctor, you always need a nurse, you always need a lawyer.
Right.
So it's just like, I don't know, like, even though like that is one of those guaranteed careers, I couldn't sit there and say that I'd be happy in it. And don't get me wrong, in our field, there's a lot more days where I'm more irritated and pissed off than happy. But at my core, I feel like I'm where I need to be, you know?
Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree with you. I think I got out of or God, put me in this situation for a reason. But I would lie if every time I see a new layoffs or a show being canceled, I do think about it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I am grateful that I am where I am now, but I do think about it. Other thing I want to mention is Oscar nominations were released. So we're not going to talk about it. Because I'm not a big award show person, because I feel like all the people that I like barely ever win. And I used to follow award shows like often, and it was always a letdown. So now I'm like, cute, but no.
The only way I would watch the Oscars is like they guaranteed me like a Will Smith smack moment. Like maybe y'all could get me, but other than that,
Girl,
I'm
Will Smith is trying to disconnect from that. Let's not put
sometimes
that
you just
into his
gotta embrace it.
aura.
Like I just want to say this before we go. I wasn't one of those people who was mad at him. Like when he smacked dude, like yes, I get it.
When
Time,
he smacked dude. Who's
you know,
dude?
Chris Rock. But it was Chris Rock, right?
It was a comedian. No tea, no shade, but we're just team. Um, but I'm bad at
Will
names.
Smith girl.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
team
but
Will
like
Smith.
I'm an advocate for him and I'm very big and this is kind of gonna go to the point when we talk about our topics.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've never had a close-knit family or had that type of like I guess like relationship status or like friendship where you feel like you protect the people that you need to protect,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm sorry for you. But honestly, if you have felt that and you have been raised in that type of way of thinking, then
Yeah.
you step up for the people that you need to step up for. But
Yeah, it's like you'll never understand. So, on that note, let's move on to our topic. If you couldn't tell, I rarely wear black, but I am in mourning. I am very dark. I got a black headband, a black shirt,
what you
dark
trying to say, Shayla?
color.
I always wear
Listen,
black.
you like black all the time for clothing. Me, I like colors. But this week and the next 4 years feel like a funeral that will never end. It is actually atrocious. So if you haven't gotten the hint yet, we are going to be talking about President Donald Trump. He is officially our president. He got inaugurated. And baby, one thing I will give him, the only thing I will give him credit for is everything that he said he was going to do, he has already started working on it. I don't want to hear no one being surprised or I didn't know or I thought he was lying or this or that. Baby, he's doing everything that he said he was going to do. We are
And
going
then
to
some.
exactly.
And then some.
We
Okay.
are going to focus on how these things are impacting people. We are even going to have an example of like even here in Jersey, we are being, hit. So yeah, so Donald Trump wasted no time. He, as soon as he got inaugurated, baby, he started signing dozens of executive orders, left, right, middle, center. If you haven't read about them, make sure you go and read. But we're gonna focus on just a few because we could be here for the whole day talking about them.
No, honestly. And I just want to kind of touch on I made it my like I made sure I kind of forgot about the inauguration. I'm not gonna lie to you. But like I made it a point to not watch it, but obviously social media, they're gonna snip certain things. And like that's basically how I found out half the stuff that did happen at the
Mhm.
inauguration. And when I saw Elon Musk doing his Roman salute, like I was sitting there, I'm like, first of all,
I
the
cannot.
mofo not even Roman. Like, what are you?
Well, people are saying that it was like, was it like Nazi or like something
Bruh.
else that was
I
not
mean,
that?
people trying to make excuses, but that's literally what it was giving. No, for real though. Like, and like to the people who are like, oh, like, what's the problem with him doing that? Like, let's say we're convinced and we're like, okay, that's the Roman salute, right? Like,
What is the Roman salute and why would he even do that? Comment down below if you. I have like we're in America and he not even Roman. Like you from South Africa, boo.
and
Be
like
clear.
my thing is like like the Roman Empire hasn't even been something of importance since Caesar was a salad. Like, I don't understand what are you talking about, right? And the thing that's like really confusing to me, right, is the people who are like, oh, it's fine, he's doing it, okay, let's say what we were brainwashed to believe that was the case, right? If I was to walk up to everybody and was like, konnichiwa, 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 and I finally hit an Asian person and I say konnichiwa, why wouldn't they deck me in my face? Why would I be saying that? I have no connection to Asian culture.
But you can say konnichiwa, I think.
Girl, all right, but you walk up to every person, you walk up to an Asian person, they're going to look at you like you're trying to be funny.
Right. I don't know. It's too much. So yeah, like we mentioned last episode, all the tech billionaires were there. I don't think we mentioned the fact that the Apple CEO was also there, honey. So unlike his last term, he has all the money people, all the powerful people on his side. But like I mentioned, Trump has already started rolling back rights. Okay, feel however you may feel. That's how I am going to refer it. He's rolling back on rights. So he ordered the closure of all DEI programs in all federal agencies. He also revoked the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1965. Yes, he had in his head a legislation, I don't know the perfect term for it, that was signed in 1965. These are the same people that are saying, oh, we don't want to talk about January 6th anymore. We need to look forward. But Buki, you was clocking a T that was passed years, decades ago, 1965. But we're going to talk about that. So this Equal Employment Opportunity Act the order prohibited discrimination in hiring and employment-based rate. No, let me, girl, he got me so, you know what I mean? Like, it prohibited discrimination in hiring and employment based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. I feel like we as humans, like, what is wrong with that? Like, I think that is the bare minimum. You should not be discriminating anyone based on their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Why would you want to roll that back? We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. Like I mentioned, he ordered the closure of all DEI programs in all federal agencies. If you don't know what DEI means, it's ya se me olvidó. What's DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, I knew that, but when I'm mad, I like get on blanks, which is why I'm reading off of things, because I will forget. He also is trying to limit birthright citizenship. Yes, everybody knows that if you are born in America, you are an American, regardless of the legal status of your parents. Mm-hmm. That's in the Constitution. But apparently he's trying to roll that back, and people are already saying, like, judges, they're like, are you bonkers or are you insane? We're not rolling that back. He's also he has ordered the conduction of ICE raids, which we will talk about, because even here in Jersey, it's happening, honey. And if it hasn't happened yet in your city, it will. Okay. And last but not least of like the topics that we're going to talk about, he introduced some sort of like LGBTQ legislation, which he called, or executive order. It's called Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. The order declares that the U.S. government will recognize that, quote, these sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and intra-controversial. That's too much. The moral of the story is he said there can only be male and female, and you can't identify as anything other than that. And
I just want to mention real quick, because obviously, you know, out of Shayla and I, my timeline full with the jokes right now, right? So, what's it called? Caitlyn Jenner was like, oh, like, congratulations, Donald Trump. Da, da, da. Somebody commented, oh, he just signed an exequitive order. You not Caitlyn no more.
You a man.
Yo, they was like, you not Caitlyn no more. You Bruce. Like,
I was like how we're going to discuss this at length, but I just don't understand how someone can support someone that doesn't even believe in them. Like, they don't care about any of your rights. It's actually crazy. But the last thing we're going to talk about is him freeing January 6th rioters, people that have been charged and were serving time in prison. He let them out. Where do you want to start, Rebecca? Because there's so much.
Oh boy. Let us start. So let us talk about these raids 1st, I think, because like we actually have Jersey connection. I mean, obviously everything's going to impact everybody at some point or somehow.
Right.
But like the one that we're actively seeing right now is these ICE raids. So like Shayla mentioned, he's approved that people can go into churches, they can go into schools, they can go into like different like facilities and like basically just raid for like people who are here or they're considering illegal. Because remember, some people are here with documentation that's currently going through the process. So technically it's like they're in that limbo of like here temporarily type of vibe. So we recently saw one of these ICE raids happening in Newark. And the reason I wanted to mention that is because the Newark mayor actually released a statement about the ICE raids that were currently happening. So I have it right here for you. I could play it real quick. So this is from the Newark mayor. His name is Ross Baraka, and it basically says today U.S. immigration, and as in today, he meant this was yesterday, which was Thursday, January 23rd, where he basically said today U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents raided local establishments in the city of Newark, detaining undocumented residents as well as citizens without producing a warrant. One of these detainees is a U.S. military veteran who suffered the indignity of having the legitimacy of his military documentation questioned. This egregious act is a plain violation of the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, who guarantees the right of people be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects, and against unreasonable searches and seizures. Right? So it's like when I see things like this, right? And like when we found this out, like I was at work and like when this executive order was signed, I was just like, I just imagine you sitting there praising to the Lord, like, or whatever religion you believe in, you could be in a mosque, a temple, wherever you at. Mind your business, praying to whoever you pray to. And boom, like this is how I'm thinking about it. Boom, doors bust open, agents just walking through, asking for like documentations, this, that, and the third. And I'm like read the room. There's time and place for things like this. Like if you feel like there is somebody who is here illegally, like you can bring them in for questioning, I guess. But it's just like, why snatch them out of church, snatch them out of the store, it's giving like, are they a criminal?
I have a lot to say, but I'll let you say your piece first.
Oh, girl, go ahead.
Okay, so another thing that I did not mention, right? Not only did he approve these ICE raids, but he also, where is it? I have it here. I have so much thing written down. So he ended the CBP1 app, right? So the app was set up under the Biden administration as a way to curb people crossing the southwest border illegally to request asylum, like in another country. Like let's say you were in Mexico, you could kind of start your process from there through this app. So he ended that app. So anyone that was thinking like in their head, like, okay, I finally got like a meeting or whatever for me to get temporary protective status legally, he ended that. So it's like, do you want them to be here illegally or legally? Because you literally cut off all ends. I have a lot to say, but before I say my piece, I want to share this video that talks about how important immigrants are to the U.S. economy or agriculture. And this is not a video to say like, oh, well, the only job immigrants could have is agriculture. But this is just to showcase how, yes, I'm not going to say that there are not criminals that, do pass the border, but we have criminals here in America that are here. So
First
it's
of
like
all, half these criminals, y'all raided the whole Capitol on January 6th. So let's be for real. Okay.
Right. So I'm going to play this video from the Wall Street Journal that kind of explains how impactful immigrants are to our agriculture.
At how Trump's immigration plans could upend agriculture in the U.S. About 2/3 of the nation's crop farm workers are immigrants. and roughly 42% of them are not legally authorized to work in the U.S., according to the Department of Agriculture.
Workers don't even ask if the food is going to go into a Republican or Democratic home. They just work to feed us.
Teresa Romero is the president of the labor union United Farm Workers. She says migrants often perform some of the most challenging and unappealing jobs in agriculture.
This is a work that is demanding, that is dangerous, that is very physical. There's long hours. Their workers are dying.
Too often the phrase, oh, these are jobs Americans won't do, is thrown around. Frankly, it's rather untrue and insulting.
Laura Reese leads the Border Security and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank and lobbying group that oversees the controversial Project 2025.
If the employers are hiring illegal aliens, that's in violation of the law, and those aliens should be removed.
But removing migrants, like Trump has proposed, could significantly disrupt the food supply chain. Consider the meatpacking industry. As of 2023, immigrants made up more than 40% of all of its labor. And half of those workers were not legally authorized to work in the U.S.
Our labor situation is already in a tough spot in agriculture.
Russell Baining is the president of the Texas Farm Bureau, which advocates for farmers and ranchers across the state.
If those type of products aren't produced in this country and the American consumer wants them, then they're going to have to come from somewhere else.
We are going to be forced to import our foods. And what is Trump saying about imports? Tariffs.
And what does tariffs mean? Everything is going to be more expensive. So this whole idea that you voted for him because you wanted cheaper eggs and cheaper grocery prices, Wabuki, if everything goes as is expected, your behind is going to be paying probably triple the amount that you was crying so bad under the Biden administration. And here's what I want to talk about this whole, because people hate when you bring up race. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, why do you want to make everything about race? Why do you want to make everything about race?
Your
Race.
ancestors made it about race.
Here's an example of why it is about race. Donald Trump claims that the reason why he's so hard pressed on, immigration and ICE and all of this is because they're bringing criminals, right? Criminals are passing through the border. So I want you to know that Trump and his administration on Monday pardoned more than 1,000 people who stormed the United States Capitol and ordered the Justice Department to drop hundreds of pending cases. So these January 6 rioters, felony charges dropped, right? Like they committed crimes, and Trump said, free those people that committed crimes. Because if it is a crime in, Donald Trump's name, that's a good crime in his eyes. He freed these people. And the gag of it all, he freed one of them, right? And then the next day, his behind was back in jail due to some other gun charges from 2 years ago that he had pending in Florida. So you need to focus, and you as in like Donald Trump, he keeps claiming this whole notion of like the reason why I'm so strict on immigration is because of criminals. And it's like, well, you're letting loose thousands of criminals. You drop charges of thousands of criminals. You yourself are a felon. And it's like, keep the same energy. This person, Pete Hegseth, who he has like, or is trying to get to become the Secretary of Defense, he has been alleged to be like, abusive to his ex-wife. But you want him as leading the defense? Like, and this is why we go back to the whole notion that it's not about the criminals. It's really about racism.
And so every point you made is absolutely on the point to the T. Okay. My whole thing is, right, people love to say, oh, y'all love to make it about race. Y'all love to make it about race. From the moment America has been established, race has played a point in every single thing, right? The Native Americans were here on their land. Christopher Columbus comes from wherever he came from, literally strips the land. They strip the people of their land, strip them of their food, rape the females, everything bad that they bring their own diseases and everything over. Now people are being introduced to new stuff, right? Right. Let's say you want to forget that. Cool. Then Slavery. How can we forget about slavery? Y'all snatch people from their own countries, bring them here because y'all are too good to work. Y'all are too good to do anything. Other people should do it because their skin color is so dark. They're this, they're that. It's like, why should they be considered as human beings? Right? It's just like from the beginning of time, race has always been a point. So you can't look at people and tell them race isn't a point. And that the moment that we start to ignore race, that's when we can actually move forward as a society.
And this is why I'm going to read this this is another executive order that Trump signs, right? It says, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunities. So this is regarding this whole DEI initiative. I'm going to read this because the gaslighting that is happening is insane. So this is Trump, a white male, right, who was gifted hella money from his family, right? So he was already born with power, which we obviously cannot relate because as not only minorities, we're women of color at that, we're already like 90 stages behind. But this is the victimization of these people. I'm going to read this. Oh no, I can't read the top, but something blank, roughly 60 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, critical and influential institutions of American society, including the federal government and influential... No. Let me start that again. Roughly 60 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, critical and influential institutions of American society, including the federal government, major corporations, financial institutions, the medical industry, large commercial airlines, law enforcement agencies, and institutions of higher education have adopted and actively used, quote, dangerous, demeaning, and immoral race and sex-based preferences under the guise of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion, or diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility that can violate the civil rights laws of this nation. Baby, you cannot make this stuff up. That's why I brought it, because I need this. This is a real legal thing. So it says illegal DEI and DEIA policies not only violate the text and spirit of our long-standing federal civil rights laws, they also undermine our national unity as they deny, discredit, and undermine the traditional American values of hard work, excellence, and individual achievements in favor of an unlawful, corrosive, and pernicious identity-based spoil system. Hardworking Americans who deserve a shot at the American dream should not be stigmatized, demeaned, or shut out of opportunities because of their race or sex. What?
Before you go, Shayla, to touch on that last point where it's basically said that because of race you can't be shut out of any opportunity. I rarely hear. Now, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I've rarely heard a white person walk up to me and tell me that they weren't allowed an opportunity because they were white. But maybe that's just me, right? But maybe that's just me. And the way that Trump is moving, especially, mind you, let's remember the percentages of races that voted for him, right? It was like, for like Latinos, it was like 56, 57, something like that, right? The way Trump is moving against y'all, you would think that Melania cheated with a Latino. I'm just saying, the way he moving is very, very vindictive, very, very much so that. I have sent Shayla this thing, right? Where it basically said that, what did it say? Hold on, I don't want to lie to y'all. That the Trump administration shut down the Spanish language website and social media accounts, right? So basically everything that was translated for people who were like, who do speak Spanish and stuff like that, all shut down. And when I sent it to Shayla, I sent the laughing emojis because it's just like, at one point, it's like you gotta look at that and be like, it's laughable. Because it's just like Shayla said in the beginning of the show, one thing I can never not give Trump credit for, he said he was going to do everything he was going to do, right? But because we knew that, we knew what to expect, which is why I knew not to watch the inauguration, because I already knew what to expect. I already know before these executive actions that he signed off on were announced, I already knew what was going to happen. But the amount of people who are now going on social media stunned, shocked, can't believe he's doing this, that, and the third. What, are you blind? Y'all walked into the voting poll not knowing what this man was already going to do? No, because you didn't think you were going to be impacted. But when them tariffs are set in place, don't sit there and get on social media. Eggs are $30. Nah, swipe your card, Susan. It's okay. You got it, baby.
And the reason why this DEI, like, to me, it infuriates me because it is saying that Black people, Latino, any minority group, it's like, oh, well, they're not getting these opportunities because they deserve it or they have the skills. They're getting it just simply because they are XYZ. That is not true. Like, I don't care how much you try to gaslight me into thinking, oh, well, I remember there was like a Black, what do you call the people that drive planes?
Pilot?
Okay, thank you. So they were like, oh, if there's a Black pilot, you're like, oh, well, I have a Black pilot because they have a DEI initiative. Do you think, like, do you actually think that they will allow someone to drive a plane simply because they have a skin color? Like, let's be for real. Like, let us think about it. I do not, like, why do you think these initiatives were made? They were put in place because there were so many qualified people that have the skills, that have the education. But guess what? Every company is still primarily all white and male. Not because there wasn't people like Rebecca and me that aren't qualified, but because, let's be honest, a lot of these jobs is who you know. So all these group of white people also know a whole lot of other white people, and they help their white people grow and get these roles. It is not because we are not qualified. And it literally pisses me off because here you have people like Rebecca and I that have been stuck in entry-level positions, not because we don't have the skills. We go above and beyond. We have the skills. But the only thing we don't have is people, I guess, that believe in us. Why? I don't know. But it's like, you do need these things because, especially if you're leading a government, this is why things like these happen. If the government is just full of white people, they're obviously going to pass legislation or do things just to benefit their people. They're not going to pass legislation or even think about minorities because they have no connection to us.
And to that point, it's like, people are like, oh, but it's all about people considering the other side. You can't consider something you don't understand. You can't consider and try to make decisions to fit groups of people that you don't have any experience or understand what the day-to-day looks like for them, right? As much as, let's say, if it was for me, being a Haitian American, if I was put in place to make decisions for Latinos, Asian, any minority group outside of my own, there's certain things I just don't know. I would have to ask Shayla, oh, what is this? Like, how do you feel about this? What if I was to make this choice? Do you think that fits? Like, does that follow the culture? I would have to go ask those type of questions. But if you put me in that, I don't ask no questions. I don't have nobody else to confirm or verify around me, which is why we see a lot of these different companies when they do stupid stuff, like when Gucci put a black neck with big lips. Like, you don't have people in those rooms who can speak out against that because y'all don't consider those things.
So how do you feel about this whole idea? Because this is what the conservatives and white people, like these white leaders, think. They're saying that color blindness is the way to go. They think that if we focus on race or we, talk about how certain minority groups are treated different or live a different or have a different experience, that's like a bad thing. Like, no, we're all the same. It's not about your color. It's not about this. It's like, it is discrediting systemic racism. How do you feel about that? This whole notion of like color blindness is the way that we should be living life.
And it's just like the way I'm going to try and say this and as coherently as possible.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of color blindness is literally impossible unless you are actually colorblind. I can
girl,
you can't tell me that especially if you, as like, I've never been a white person, as you can see. The only time I was white was when I was born out the womb, and that's like, that's my little 10 seconds. That's the only experience I got, right? So I can only think that if you, as like, I'm gonna say this as a white, like if you as a white male walk into a room, you automatically are seen as not only powerful. I don't think that, but most people, like, as a society, that's how they make you look, as powerful, as you're automatically an authoritative figure. You're this, you're that, and everything, right? If a black man walks into the room, the first thing you thinking is aggressor,
Ghetto, from the streets, drugs,
this, that, and whatever, right? And it's just like, those things are automatically attached, especially the way society and our, like, everything's been built. Those are automatically the types of notions that are attached to different people of different races. If I walk into a room, you don't, and I, before I even open my mouth, the first thing you're going to think is loud, ratchet, ghetto. You don't know me. You see my nails, you think that I'm ghetto. You think if I wear something bright and colorful, oh yeah, she ratchet, she this, she that. Like, you're automatically associating those type of things when it comes to certain races.
or if, like, you know how I be telling you, oh wow, Rebecca, you got that AP terminology. Like, and when you are, qualified, and you step outside of these stereotypes, people are like shocked, like, oh my God, you can build a sentence? You are a college graduate? It's like, I don't know what idea you got of me.
No, I was gonna say, people within our own communities do that, because growing up, I remember, like I told you, I went to school with a lot of white people. So, like, there's certain things that I've seen and stuff like that like Shayla didn't experience until she went to college, right? So then when I go to college and the way I talk and stuff like that, like, I could give you AAVE, but I could also, construct a proper sentence and put it together and use the proper verbs, past tense, current tense, everything like that, because I've been around that a lot, and that's not to say that somebody from, like, who I guess y'all classify it as the ghetto can't do that, but it's like, that's not something that's automatically associated with that, right?
Or even if, like, you are ghetto, that doesn't mean, like, I don't have a perfect terminology, because, like Rebecca said, honestly, I don't remember having a white person, like a classmate, until I was in college. So for me, it was like the opposite. When I saw a white person in school, I said, oh my God, girl, like, what is this? But, like, so for me, me reading was a lot of work. Not only was English not my first language, but also, like, I was just surrounded by this urban area. But don't get it twisted. Just because I may not use the proper words and the verb and the past tense, I still know what's moving, and I might just say it in a different way. But just because someone uses street talk, don't feel like, oh, we don't know what's happening. And I think a lot of times these higher up people that are in, like, their uppity whores, they think they're better because they know how to speak more, or they know more, in terms of book. But that doesn't mean that you're smarter than us, just because, the way we talk and the way we move is different than you.
Exactly.
But I also want to just talk about this whole LGBTQ plus situation, and, like, the fact that he's trying to, like, the only two genders we can recognize is woman and male, because T.S. Madison, she's like a transgender woman. She's like an actress, but also like a reality star. I think, according to Google, girl, I don't know, because I'm not a reality TV person, but she was like the first Black transgender woman to, not only star in her own reality show, but executive produced it. So TMZ caught up with her and asked her about this new executive order from Trump. Take a listen.
Donald Trump saying, listen, there's only two genders. What does that mean to you? How do you feel about that when you heard that?
Well, it didn't bother me, because I'm one gender, honey, and that's trans, okay? And at the beginning, middle, and end of the day, you can put legal sanctions on anything. You can never, ever change anybody's identity. You have the right to identify exactly however you choose to identify, always.
I love that. So now what about DEI, which also affects, like, I think a lot of people think it's like about a black and white thing, but it also affects the trans community. Getting rid of that.
Well, here's the thing: the trans community is the Black community. How can we separate the two?
So it's one and the same.
Affects all of us. Anytime that somebody is working against any marginalized group of people or minority, it affects everybody, no matter the sex, gender, race. If it's a minority, it affects everyone.
How dangerous is this?
Very dangerous. We're about to see America go back. America being great again means America being completely white.
Right. Well, not saying right. I have to be,
No.
unbiased, of course, but
White.
but so I mean, do you think it's his agenda to make America more white and less black and mixed and transcentric? Or
When he said that he wanted to go back to 1790, in his rhetoric, talking about doing things from 1790, should have told America already. What were they doing in 1790 to black people, to gay people, to Indian people, to anybody that was not 100% white,
Right.
male?
Right.
What were they doing in 1790?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming there was slaves, I guess.
Right. Gather arms, everybody.
When she said gather arms, everybody, I said, oh my God, it's really
And
a
this is
funeral.
completely unrelated, but I was like, who that in the back?
Girl, the security was securing.
But I kind of want to go back onto the thing that you talked about earlier when you asked me about how do I feel about color blindness and everything like that. And I just want to let me help put this into more perspective for y'all. Color blindness has never been a thing. Literally, if you think about it, y'all, I think people like to forget that things aren't as far as they used to be, as y'all think they are. Ruby Bridges has an Instagram page. She's not dead. That means the same people, and I sent Shayla this video, that means the same people who were bringing lynches to school and boycotting and everything like that, they're still alive too. The lady like 40, 45, 50. It's like we're not as far as some of y'all think that we are. And it's like from the beginning of time, especially when slavery and everything was in place, y'all made sure y'all found a way to make sure that people of color understood that they were never going to be equal to you. That is why some of these things were put into place to try and show America that we all can be one, but we can't be one in a system that does not want you to be one.
That part. So buckle up, you guys. It has not even been a full week. And like I am in my black and dark colors, I try to be, that's a lie. I don't try to be positive, but I'm going to need all the positivity and all, like, I think this is a very important point in life. Like, you do need to stay in the loop of what is happening, but I completely understand if you also need some space. If you're anything like me, I'm very empathetic. So it's like, I also have to put myself first sometimes and like take a step back and do things for me, because these next 4 years, especially if you are a part of a minority group, it is going to be very tense. And I feel like every day is bad news. So try to find a way to, set aside some time for you, but then also don't stay in the dark, honey, because one thing about these white people and like these politicians, they're always clocked in. They always show up. They always vote. They always do all these things, which is why they always remain in power, honey, one way or another.
I also just want to say really quickly, like, oh, people are like, oh, like you really cutting off people who voted for him? Absolutely. Because morally, you cannot give a fuck about me and tell me that y'all voted for him because y'all could see better. If you voted for him, do not follow me. You don't need to speak to me. Honestly, we don't even need to breathe the same H2O wholeheartedly.
Girl, one person that did understand the message is someone else. We're going to show her, but it's going to be a part of our social corner. So yes, our main topic was all Donald Trump because he did so much. It's actually insane. And we needed to dedicate time to him. But let's get into our social corner where it's happier vibes. Okay, let's get into it.
Yes. So welcome to our social corner. Like you could tell before, we were real hot, heavy, and everything was just very boom, 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 boom. But in the social corner, we're gonna talk about a variety of different topics, but we're not gonna spend that much time on it. Like we spent 30 minutes talking about Trump in the social corner. We're not gonna spend 30, 40 minutes talking about one topic. In that 20 minutes, we're probably gonna talk about 7. So, Shayla, what is our first topic?
Yeah, so this was the ultimate gag because one thing about the right, They are always like so God centric. Don't get it twisted. I believe in God. I am a Catholic. But you know, they try to use religion as a motive to spread hate and negativity, anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, like all the hate and the negativity. And Rebecca and I feel like always say, that's not our God. I don't know what y'all talking about, but my God don't move like that. And this is a perfect example. This bishop clocked Vance and Trump and all his team during a service. And I do want to preface this by saying the bishop is from New Jersey, honey, because one thing about us, we will always clock that tea. There are some that won't, but we're gonna not talk about.
We don't claim them.
Take a listen to what the bishop had to say, honey.
One final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
Amen, honey. She ate them up in their own terms, honey. And the gag is, Vance and Trump, honey, they was looking at this girl like, who approved this sermon? Baby, the way she humbly dragged them is iconic.
Okay, that's the definition of thug. Truly humbled under God. Okay.
Amen, honey. So we appreciate her. Shout out to the Jersey Bishop for, doing her thing and letting it be known. Our God does not appreciate the way you are moving, honey.
And honestly, I just want to say, I need to learn how to be like her. She was real calm, composed. The pauses, the breaths, the commas.
She was dragging him.
All felt me. Oh, you would have heard I'd have said, I would have gave a B, I would have given an H, I'd have gave I would have gave a few words in between.
We gotta learn from her. She dragged them without saying us. Like, it was just amazing. I am so honored by her. So next, let's talk about the fake ASS TikTok ban. What happened with TikTok? It's up and running.
Let me tell y'all. So what day was this? So remember from last week's episode, the Supreme Court had basically approved and upheld the ban for TikTok. If TikTok did not sell to American, whoever from America was going to buy it, they'd be good, fine, and dandy. So they basically approved it for TikTok to be shut down. And what was Sunday the 18th, I believe? Was Sunday the 18th?
I don't know, but they know last Sunday.
Right. So they approved for TikTok to be shut down on Sunday, January 19th, right? And everybody was like, we was all sitting here, we're like, Shayla was even like, they not gonna do it. I'm like, nah, they not gonna do it. They're chatting. Baby, not even 12 o'clock didn't even hit. People's TikToks were getting snatched from them at 8 p.m. Eastern time for us. Whatever that is for y'all, you know, some people's TikToks started getting snatched at 8. Literally, Shayla had to go to bed at like I think by 10. I'm on the phone with Shayla, like, Shayla, I'm finna crash out. If I miss work, it's because of this, it's because of that.
I couldn't miss history. I had to stay up because I was like, girl, like this is
actually, let me fact check myself. I'm lying to y'all. It was supposed to go into the ban was implemented on Sunday, January 19th, but people's TikToks were getting snatched from them on Saturday evening, is what I meant to say. So me and Shayla on the phone with each other. I'm like, yo, I'm about to crash out. Shayla's like, bruh, they're chatting. Like literally people's like messages on people's phones were popping up, right? But let's talk about the real glaze, like the real deriding. Let me go to Shayla and I's messages because it was giving deriding extraordinaire. Like it was giving reverse cowgirl. I'd never seen nothing like this in my life. So when TikTok stopped working and everything like that, right? This message had basically popped up and it said a law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok right now. Next paragraph. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. Y'all is deriding so hard. Y'all gonna have a baby in 9 months. Like that's literally what it's giving. I never seen nothing like that, right? And then TikTok comes back. Literally, the ban didn't even last 24 hours. Literally, people are getting their TikToks back at like 3 p.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m., right? TikTok comes back. And it's just like, thanks with the help with President Donald Trump. Don't piss me off.
So that to that note, this is why I felt the way I felt is because at first it started off as being a security threat, right? Like this is essentially why Donald Trump went back way back when he started all of this mess. He felt like, you know, there was a security issue. So that's how this passed. And then now all of a sudden now it has become a political thing, right? Donald Trump, one of the executive orders that he signed was a 75 day extension to this quote unquote ban. And now instead of them having to sell 100% to like a US based owner or whatever, now it's only like, well, 50%, right? Like you need to sell 50% of TikTok to like a US billionaire because no one buying TikTok for crumbs, honey. It's a lot of money. So I just think at first it was like a security thing and now it has just become a political thing. And I hope I really want to think the best out of us. Don't fall for the trap. Please do not be like, oh, well, TikTok is back because of Trump. Like, y'all are just, listen.
Y'all glazing too. Y'all is a real glazed donut, deriding right there along with them. Y'all about to have septuplets at this fucking point.
So, and us talking about TikTok is never going to end. We'll see y'all back here in 75 days and see if actually someone buys 50% of TikTok.
I just wanted to mention really quickly, a lot of people on TikTok have been talking about how ever since the ban, like when they got TikTok back, like their algorithm has changed. And I feel like mine has changed too. Cause I feel like, I don't know, it's just something different. And like, there's a lot of conspiracies that are going on. And if you know, Shayla and I really don't really care about conspiracies. Cause it's like, okay, and what's next? But like, people are basically saying that when you look up the LA fires, that like the content that's being posted is not there like that anymore. And that if you want your algorithm to go back to the same, you gotta like, block Meta, Facebook, Instagram, like all these different places. And like me being me, I was like, okay, let me try blocking like Meta and stuff like that to see. And I feel like my content is still not the same. Like it's not like the people I was used to seeing, the stuff I was used to watching. Like my TikTok was built very delicately. Like I did not have a white person in sight on my TikTok. Every 3 scrolls, I'm seeing like a Caucasian individual. I'm like, what are y'all doing here?
Yeah, I definitely think that there was some restrictions put in place with before it was republished or whatever, if they switch a flip. It also shows how, number one, it's scary how dependent we are on a social site. Like, I think we also need to breathe and have an internal look. We cannot be depending on an app. And I'll include myself, because when it started to sing a little bit, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with this? Like, I would get my phone and I'd be like, oh, I don't have to scroll. Like, I have a life and I can do other things. It is scary. And I think for a bit, even when it came back, I did not want to go back to it because of how hard they were glazing over Trump. It's like, and you guys know how I feel about that man. So it was like a form of like resistance. But then, of course, I caved in a little bit. But anyways, let's move on now to our sports corner.
Tell him this, did he miss? Junior want to not be on my
So yes, Shayla and I are into our sports corner. And if you don't know, along with talking about politics, entertainment, news, and everything, Shayla and I are sports girlies. Like, we appreciate the enjoyment that sports gives us, So one of the things I want to talk about real quickly is the recent NFL games that happened last week, right? And y'all know my teams are the Giants and the Kansas City Chiefs. All right.
Boo, tomato, boo. Anyone but the Chiefs.
And before anybody sit there and try and clock me, if you don't know,
sorry.
People like to sit there and call me a bandwagon for the Chiefs, but I need to just say I was a Chiefs fan when Kayla Nicole was dating Travis Kelce, and I've been stuck there, and I love
Isaiah. If you like him, you like him. You do not have to give
Okay,
up.
but I love Isaiah Pacheco. So,
okay, great.
Right. Now we're about to get into the AFC finals and the NFC finals. And in the AFC, we have the Bills versus the Chiefs. And my Chiefs, their one and only loss this season was to the Bills.
Thank God.
Anyway. And then we have the Eagles and we have the Commanders. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this real quick is because Shayla and I, we root for Lamar Jackson. Like, I want the best for Lamar Jackson. In my eyes, I look at him as an uncle. Like, I want the best for him, right? And watching that game, I never been so literally, my coworkers will tell you, I literally did a gorilla fist stunt on the desk. I was so mad because in the first, I would say the first half, the first and the second quarter, Lamar, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I mean, it's easy for us to say as fans who are watching, we're not out in the field making decisions or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm here to give my little critiques. Lamar, you wasn't doing a gosh darn thing in the first half. You were stressing me out. You were getting sacked. I could not believe what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second half comes, which is the third and the fourth quarter. And Lamar showing out. I'm like, okay, he throwing the ball, he doing his runs.
Right.
Okay, rushing yards on deck, passing yards, flourishing. Then we get into the final few seconds. I don't know why, and maybe this is just me. So when you're playing football, you have the option to do a 2-point conversion instead of getting a field goal kick. So a touchdown is 6 points. And if you get the field goal kick, that's 1 extra point, which makes it 7. So a touchdown is not 7 points, it's 6 plus the field goal kick. If you decide to not take the field goal kick, you can do a 2-point conversion where you try and get another touchdown, but that would equal 2 points instead of it being 6. The Ravens, after they tried their first 2-point conversion. They were 1-3. You literally can't, you're not effective when it comes to your 2-point conversions. But hey, sometimes it is what it is. Let's try it, right? They tried it, didn't work. Boom. We get into the fourth quarter. A few seconds left. They get a touchdown. They decide, let's go for another 2-point conversion. Shayla. I was nervous because I was like, okay, you guys got this, you got this. What was his name? His name is, I believe his name is Mark Andrews. Shayla, literally, the ball has to sit right here in his gut. The ball literally dumped to the floor while he's in the end zone. Shayla, I threw my chair. Boom. I was so mad.
All I have to say about that is they're playing the Washington Commanders, correct?
No, the Eagles are playing the Washington Commanders.
No, but who were they playing during that game?
They were playing the Bills.
Okay. So whoever they were playing, I already have the teams that like I'm low-key rooting for. So when I just saw the schedule, I was like, oh yeah, Lamar got this. And then I had to do like a double duty shift at work. So when I got home and I saw the score, I said, what this mean, Rebecca? Because ain't no way. I said, he could still make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, Shayla was like, so they play again?
I said, because this is the thing that is so infuriating, and I think this conversation is gonna follow Lamarjackson until he wins the Super Bowl. During the regular season, he's so good. It's like spanking every team left and right. The score is like through the roof. But then it's like when the games that you really, really needed, what occurred? I was so shocked and disbelief. I could not believe it. My Lions also lost, but at least they lost to the Washington Commanders, who I am also rooting for. Jaydendaniels, I am rooting extremely hard for him. So yeah, the Lions are no longer there. The Lamar and the Ravens are no longer a part of it. So I am rooting for anyone but the Kansas City Chiefs. I am tired of Patrick Mahomes. I am tired of him. I am tired of the red. I am tired of the Taylors. I am tired of let's finish that up. So this week, who are you rooting for? It's Jaydendaniels versus the Eagles. I know how you feel about the Eagles, so that's probably.
Girl, I'm a certified, like, I don't care who said who. Like, I understand I'm a Chiefs fan. I don't care. I'm a certified Eagles hater. I do not. It don't matter who the Eagles are playing. I'm rooting for the other team always. Like, I can't stand the Eagles. I hope Jaydendaniels, and like, also, I'm not gonna lie to you, as a Chiefs fan, yes, I love them and all. I can't stand Taylor Swift. I wouldn't even be mad if they lost. I'm not even gonna be like, I'm not gonna hold you. Like, I would love to see Jaydendaniels win. I would love like an underdog.
That would be historic. The first rookie to ever, like, the franchise was expected to be like low bottom of the barrel. The fact that they even made it this far is so astonishing. And I don't know if you guys have seen the video of Jaydendaniels' mom clocking the tea of like, I'm glad he has the mother that he has, which is me, because I know someone else's mother is out there plotting to, knock up my kid. He said, not today, honey. And
I'm here for
if
it.
I was the mom, honey, your son is, the hot-ish right now in DC, honey. And I know the girls are plotting, and I hope he stays. You know what I'm saying? Because he also isn't the type. He doesn't seem cocky. He seems very down to earth. And like his teammates, anytime they talk about them, they're like gassing him up. And like, you want to play for someone like that. I think it also helps the franchise, because if I'm a free agent, I want to go play for Jayden, because it's only up from here, to be honest. So again, this week we will be rooting for Jaydendaniels, and I will be rooting for the downfall of the Kansas City Chiefs. So may the Bills win. I don't root for them.
I just want to say really quickly, in the last game that the Eagles had, who did they play again? They played, I don't even remember. They lost anyway. So in the last game, Jalen Hurts, like, he kind of like twisted his ankle or something. Not ankle.
No, I think they won. They didn't lose.
Yeah, they won. But I'm saying, he has some type of knee problem happening right now, which could affect how the game goes. But regardless of that, like, I like Jalen Hurts. I just can't stand the Eagles organization and fan base.
I just love that they both have black quarterbacks. So it's like, it's really a win-win regardless. But I think the storyline of Jaydendaniels is just a bit better. But honestly, if it's anyone of color, and I know this is gonna trigger the colorblind people, if there was a Latino quarterback, oh baby, y'all would hate me, honey, because I might have to buy a jersey.
Yo,
I'm always rooting for my people, black, Latino, minorities.
Yes.
Love
so
that.
You went before. We just have a few more things to talk about. So you want to talk about Unrivaled?
Oh, yeah. So Unrivaled, the last time we had an episode. It was like the launch of it, and I think it was a success. I really tried to get Rebecca to watch it. I was like, put the channel, put the channel, put the channel. Girl, she never put the channel, although she
First
told me
of
she
all,
was gonna
I
put
did
the
end up
channel.
watching. It was the Owls versus the other team.
And what you thought about it since you
It
watched
was cool. I thought I liked the interviews that they do before. Shayla and I are production people.
Mhm.
So like for me, I'm like watching the production, and like I said, like I like how like it looks so like, I don't know, clean, and it's like clear, like the way the production is going. I
Yeah.
like how that works. I think the game was interesting, but like honestly, I'm slowly trying to get into it.
Yeah.
So like I watched like a good 3/4 and I was like, all right.
So the interesting thing about it, like unlike other like regular basketball games, like we mentioned, this is 3 versus 3. It's an all women's league, in case you don't know what Unrivaled is. So the first 3 quarters, I believe, are like 7 minutes or 10. I think it's 7. And so the fourth quarter, you add 11 points to whatever team has the highest score, and that's the target score you got to reach. So there's not really like a time limit. I like it. It's super fun, and I think it's just, how they say like iron sharpers iron. All the girls that are there are like, top WNBA players. So it's like, this is a good setup for when the WNBA season starts. It's like, you gotta be in shape, honey, because the way they be running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in this 3v3, they also said like this highlights what you're lacking, honey. Because if your defense is trash, everybody got to stay with their person. It's not like you can help off somebody. So anyways, I loved it, and I can't wait to continue watching it. So on that note, let's move on to, in the WNBA world, they call the NBA. Let's move on to the MNBA.
Okay.
The Men's National Basketball Association.
Yes. So let's get into it real quick. So as you guys know, every like different sport has like their all-star version of the game. For football, they have the Pro Bowl and everything like that. But the MNBA, as Shayla said, is about to get into their all-star weekend as well. And the starters for the East and the West have officially been announced. And I just wanted to show y'all really quickly. Hold on. This is the starters. So as you can see, my man, Stephen Curry was selected. And we love that for us. We also have SGA, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Nikola Jokic. That is for the West. And then for the East, of course, because I'm also a Knicks girl. Okay. My uncle Jalen Brunson. Then we also have Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum for Shayla, and Giannis. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not even gonna hold you.
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, him and Kat. And honestly, I'm a little excited because I feel like all these stars, like, they've been doing their thing all year. It breaks my heart to see how hard Steph has to work for every single game because he doesn't have the proper support on the court. But it's okay because my Knicks are flourishing. And I'm loving that. Mm-hmm. And Shayla, you got one of your people in there.
Yeah, we have Jason Tatum, so that's great. I'm not even gonna lie. Ever since I started watching like the WNBA, I have not been keeping up as much with my Celtics as I should. I also feel like the season is so long. I believe we need to shorten it a bit because it's like you have so many games. I think we could shorten it a bit.
The seasons are perfect. The only thing is, right? So the reason why I was really excited to talk about this is because I would say, especially like over the last, I want to say 4 to 5, maybe even 6 years, there has been a consistent conversation about the NBA All-Star games being a legitimate disaster and a waste of time, right? So Shayla, I believe your first time was watching it like 2 years or a year, like
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. And I remember like you asking me like, is it always like this? And I'm like, honestly, like it's gotten worse as the years have gone on, especially because it's like, it doesn't seem like anybody's taking it serious.
You know what I'm thinking about? Last year when Jaylen Brown was a part of it, he did the dunking contest with Kai Cenat sitting on a chair and he got dragged for it.
It's like, bro, he's short already.
I'm a Jaylen Brown fan, so I support it. But anyways, I'm sorry. I had to mention that.
No, as you should. So the thing that they've been trying to like do at all, like I guess these last few years, is to make it more interesting and more enticing for people to be there, because like the viewership is going down. And it's not interesting. Honestly, it's quite boring, especially with the way that the games go, where it's East versus West. Nobody's playing defense. No, like the score literally be like 300. It's like
And it's a lot of 1v1s. It's like whoever want to go at it, then that's their game.
So this year the NBA All-Star Game will incorporate a new tournament style format, an attempt to create more competitive contest. So instead of one game featuring East versus West, All-Star Sunday will feature a tournament with 4 teams made up of 8 players each, right? I guess that's supposed to make it more entertaining. But honestly, I don't even know what they could do anymore. But like, the dunking contest is not exciting anymore. Like, y'all need to get actual people who can do like creative dunks and stuff like that. They had the dude who was from that
the G League person literally held that down.
Like, he was doing some stuff where I'm like, okay, white boy. Like,
yeah. I agree. I think honestly, you don't know what you have until it's taken away from you. So I think they need to be like, oh, okay, since y'all got so much money, you guys don't need this yet, just want to break, end it. And I understand the whole point of All-Star is mainly for the fans. I understand that. But it's like, if you're traveling to these states, it's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap. So I'd rather just stay home, save my coins. Then you know, these people spend all this money to go to the All-Star game for nothing. And I get it. Like, some people are just happy to be in the presence of these athletes, whatever. But I think you should just end it. And instead of doing it like every year, maybe it's like every 2 years. So like you have a little bit more of excitement of like, you know, oh, I don't know. Because it's like, at the end of the day, these athletes make so much money. Or if anything, it should be like the NFL. Isn't it called the Pro Bowl? Where it's like the ones that aren't like the
like
biggest names,
the ones who aren't playing in the Super Bowl are the ones like who are selected for like the Pro Bowl, which is fine, but the Pro Bowl is boring too. Like,
okay, so I think the solution is just cut it and find another way, another event for fans to interact with their athletes.
Yes. But that is all for today's episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you follow us on our social platforms. We have TikTok, Instagram, Threads. Oh, everything you on, we on too, Bookie. Okay.
Yes, Too Much SB. And as the title of our podcast shows, we care about too much topics. We went from like real politics to fun stuff to TikTok to sports to everything. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. We appreciate your guys' support, and we will see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.